From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up? It is Wake Up Warchant. It is presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Check them out. They're awesome. We love them. Every day, lunch special. Today, the quasi-Cuban, if you will. It's a Wednesday, Corey, but it's only the second Wednesday of the month. So if you want to get down, with all those parrot heads, the flocking, if you will, that's next Wednesday. It's the third Wednesday of every month with live music, and the members of the Jimmy Buffett fan club get their own drink specials, the Tallahassee Parrot Heads. So that's next week. But today, head over, get you that press ham sandwich, everybody.
And also, don't forget bingo on Thursday. $250 is on the line. If you win all 3 rounds, you can win $750. It's all there at Corner Pocket.
Look at that. That's a hard day, more than a hard day's work right there. $750, man. Shout out.
That's great. That's good. That's good stuff.
Chock full show of information. Ira Schoffel out in Amelia Island. Corey and I touch base with him, get some updates on what's been discussed out there, scheduling. That's on the top of the agenda later today. The commissioner will actually speak, so lots more news will be flowing onto warchant.com. So tap in for that because you'll have to wait like a whole day to hear us recap it with Ira. So get on board. Join warchant.com. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and the website as well. We also spoke to Devontay Love-Taylor, fresh off a tryout with the Baltimore Ravens, now heads back home to Tampa. He's actually in Tallahassee right now, but will be in Tampa this weekend for his second tryout, which I should have asked him a little more about that. You know, we saw the whole thing, like the tweet after the draft where it's like, oh, Devontay Love-Taylor, agrees to undrafted deal with the Bucs. It's like, oh, cool. But I guess apparently you can, flirt with other people in the meantime. Since you are a free agent, you can go to other places and try out. So hopefully this one works out for him as he tries to chase his NFL dreams. Anyhow, Tuesday, Corey, doubleheader of baseball. Florida State sweeps it, 2-1 in the early game. Both games were 7 innings. And then they hang on by the hair on their chinny chin against JU 5-4. Jacksonville had loaded the bases 3 times in the last 4 innings. I think in the 6th inning, was it the James the Bat Tibbs playing left field, robbing them of a home run that would have tied the game?
Great catch, at least a double, crashing into the wall and holding on to it. That was a big catch, and then some craziness there in the 7th with Davis Hare again. Like that guy threw.
Just 8 pitches. It was 8 pitches, I think, in game 1.
No, but I was going to say I don't know that he pitched or how often he pitched in Boston. I should probably look that up. But he did because those games were so lopsided. He didn't pitch a ton.
He pitched Friday. He surrendered the winning run. He walked the guys.
So now you're wondering about him, but he didn't pitch on Saturday and Sunday, I don't believe. So him throwing 3 innings on Tuesday isn't the end of the world, especially when one of them was just an 8-pitch inning in the first game. But then that second game, he really struggled. The last inning he struggled. He came into a bases-loaded jam and got out of it. Bases loaded, nobody out, and got out of it. And then the next inning, they got loaded again, and then, gives up a hit up the middle. And, look, Lacey's a little banged up, so he can't play center. Reese Albert apparently was at a funeral on Tuesday of either a family member or a family friend. They didn't say, but he wasn't there for personal reasons. So they had Trayton Rank out in center field, playing center field for the first time in his career at Florida State, and he makes one of the all-time dumbest plays a Florida State center fielder has ever made. And look, man, he might end up being an awesome player. He's a freshman. I get it, but the bases are loaded. There's 2 outs. You have a 4-run lead. Guy hits a little dinker up the middle that deflects off Carry-On's glove. The only thing in your mind at that moment, the only thing, is I can't let the tying run get to second base. I do not want the tying run, the guy that just hit the ball, I don't want him to get in a scoring position. So what does Rank do? He makes a crazy throw to third to try to get a guy out that he had no chance to get out, and he sails it into the dugout to give them a run, and then to put the guy was going to, as soon as the guy saw him throw it, the hitter saw him throwing to third, he takes off for second immediately because the throw was airmailed. So he gets into second on the throw, and then he gets to go to third because the throw went into the dugout. And all you have to do is pick that ball up, buddy, and throw it back to second base. and it's first and third. It's 5-3. The tying run is at first base, not third base. And but Davis Hare got out of it, got a comebacker. He fielded it awkwardly, but got out of it. And look, man, it doesn't matter how you win. They weren't the prettiest things. They weren't 10-0, 10-0. But 2-1 and 5-4 might as well be 15-0, 15-0. Like, they count the same. And that was a big sweep for Florida State. Gets them to 30 wins on the season. Avoids a bad RPI loss, a team to in the 97th RPI. So keeps them in the contention, man, for a regional host.
I don't know if it's a blessing in disguise or silver lining or what, but clearly Ross Dunn, unless he's going to be your opener and you're going to try to only get one inning out of him in some weird situation in a regional, or if you somehow miraculously make it to Omaha, but whatever was wrong and they thought they fixed clearly has not been remedied permanently. He only made it. He didn't even make it through the entire inning in the first game. Allowed a hit, 2 wild pitches, plunked a guy, only threw 17 pitches. But I think the first out of the game for Florida State, I think, was a 3-pitch strikeout. And then after that, he just couldn't have any sort of command. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know how this really affects what they want to do with that. I mean, I guess Carson Montgomery sort of entrenched himself as a Sunday guy, but they're not. I guess they don't have that many more midweeks left, so maybe not a big problem. But maybe Ross Dunn can give you one out. Maybe he can be a high leverage guy on a matchup that gets you an out. But I don't know. Yeah,
I'm really, and we talked about this on headlines. It's like I don't. At some point, like if Wyatt Crowell, they used Wyatt Crowell in the first game.
Yep.
After he pitched as many pitches and as many innings as Montgomery did on Saturday, because he came in relief. They pitched the same amount of innings. I was wondering if Montgomery would be available out of the bullpen on Tuesday if Wyatt Crowell was. I know Crowell's considered a reliever and Montgomery's not, but they've used Montgomery before. And again, when you watched, Connor Whitaker did not have a good outing again. Second out of his last 3 have not been great. Scolaro was actually good coming in for Dunn, really good. But I don't know that you count on him in the 8th inning. And now that Davis Hare has now had some struggles here, 2 of his last 3 outings. I wonder if Montgomery, you got to maybe start thinking about Montgomery going to the back end of the bullpen, man. I just think he's better for you there. He has not been – he was special, and I know it's such a small sample size. It was just 2 outings, but he was special coming out of the bullpen the 2 times he did it. Against good teams, just shut them down, looked overmatched. He is not special as a starter. He's good, he's okay, but he's not special as a starter. And I just wonder when you get in the postseason and you got to go get those last 6 outs and you can't use Montgomery because he got you 12 outs in the middle of the second game to start the second game, if you're going to be lamenting the fact that guy that throws 97, just for this season, for this particular team, next year he can still be ramped up and be your starter. But just for this particular team, I think he makes a lot of sense as your closer, at least in the back end of the bullpen. But apparently they're not going that route, but that's why Davis Hare had to pitch in 2 games on Tuesday.
Yeah. James Tibbs had all the RBIs in Game 1. Brock Mathis, who started Game 2 behind the plate, 2 of 3, 2 RBIs. I think it came off a double, a ground rule double on his birthday, if I'm not mistaken. He's batting 264. Colton Vincent batting 185. But that's another thing that I just don't. It's never going to change, and just got to accept that at this point. Aslan, just that's what we're going to do. And I guess I got to be okay with it. So
hey, some good news from that the doubleheader sweep though, and it's all good news when you win. Number 1, Scolaro was good, and then Tibbs had that night a great catch. Farrer had a great catch in right center. Those 2 guys are maybe starting to figure out. And Farrer, came in as a catcher, so he's starting to get a little bit better.
It's an adventure. It's an adventure out there.
It is, but he's getting better. Yeah. He seems to be getting better. That was a really nice catch he had in the right center gap. But as a team, now again, they weren't full games. They were 7-inning games. So Florida State batted 12 times because they had the lead in the 7th inning both games, so they didn't bat in the 7th inning. So they had 12 turns at plate. They only struck out 8 times total.
That's good on the Corey Clark index of strikeouts, correct?
It's really good. Look, they were averaging well over a strikeout an inning before. This last little run here, they didn't strike out much over the weekend against Boston College either. Maybe they're starting to just put the bat on the ball and see what happens, man. That's what I talked about at the Boston College. You face a horrible fielding team, let them prove it by having them put the bat on the ball and let them go kick it around 6 times like they did on Saturday. So 8, whatever that is, I don't know how many. They probably had 50 at bats total. And to only strike out 8 times, for this team is a really positive step. I'm looking for silver lining, and that's a good one. That they only had 8 strikeouts as a team.
Huge weekend coming up for the Noles on the diamond. Baseball, softball as well. They'll be playing later today, if I'm not mistaken, right, Corey? They'll be taking on Virginia in the ACC softball tournament.
I think that's Thursday, buddy.
Is it Thursday? Okay. My
yeah,
bad.
come on, get your stuff together.
All right. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Miami's in town. Baseball. Don't forget Saturday, the Bravos Trophy, the World Series Trophy, will actually be on tour in Tallahassee. Friday night, 7 o'clock. Saturday night, 7 o'clock as well. Saturday will be on ACC Network. Sunday will be on ESPN2. That's at noon, which I never understood why. I mean, I guess you're hoping the rubber match, which I think it'll probably be a rubber match. Hopefully not. Hopefully we'll be going for the sweep. But
That's right.
7, 7, and 12. Game 2, ACC Network. Game 3 on ESPN2. So be on the lookout for that. All right, let's talk some football. We got Ira Schoffel and Amelia Island with us. All right, we're going to be doing this on a weekly basis, but it'll be like a more contained segment. It'll be nice and sharp and crisp and clean with all of us in town. But Ira Schoffel out there working for the people in Amelia Island. It's ACC meetings all week long. He'll be with us all week long here on Wake Up Warchant. Scheduling the big topic yesterday. What was the topic du jour today out there, Ira?
Actually, still scheduling.
All right.
And some other topics as well, but scheduling was a big one. One of the a lot of the athletic directors and football coaches have been pretty tight-lipped about what they're discussing in terms of details. But Dan Radakovich, Miami's athletic director, because that's how Miami rolls, was a little bit more forthcoming and said that basically he made it seem like they're, the consensus seems to be that they're going to go to this new model of scrapping the divisions, assuming that the NCAA passes that ruling where you don't have to have divisions to play a championship game, and then go to it's called a 3-5-5 model where you have 3 permanent opponents. So for Florida State, it would likely be Miami, Clemson, and somebody else. We're not sure who the third team would be. And then the other 10 teams in the conference would rotate 5 home and away, and then the other 5 would come in home and away. So you'd get to play everybody in the conference within 4 years, home and away. And he made it sound like he didn't say it's a done deal. He just said it's closer to the finish than the beginning, and that they have to talk tomorrow with ESPN. And I think that's kind of one of the key parts to it is they want to make sure ESPN thinks that this is a good idea and will make more money for the conference because you'll theoretically might have more favorable, more interesting matchups.
Can we use this to leverage to get out of the contract, the GOR? Ira can be like, all right, we'll do your 3-5-5 model, ESPN. You like it? Now let us out of this thing.
I'm sure that is a popular theory on our message boards, but I do not think that's going to be the case.
And Ira, wouldn't you think that the third one needs to be Georgia Tech? Like, who else would it be? Like, what other natural fit would there be?
You would definitely think that might be the case, and the fans, I'm sure, are going to think that's the case. There's a ton of FSU fans in Atlanta, and we know a lot of people have a lot of reasons for thinking that should be the case. But we talked to Mike Alford, FSU's athletic director, and he didn't say who the third would be, but he didn't sound all that bullish on wanting to push for it to be Georgia Tech. The sense I get is that he really likes the idea of Florida State maybe playing in some bigger markets, and he kind of mentioned a couple times that he kind of mentioned a couple times.
What's a bigger market than Atlanta? What's a bigger market than Atlanta?
Really, exactly.
He mentioned the Northeast a couple times, and for whatever reason, it's just this
smart.
It's the old refrain from the ACC that there's a ton of TV sets in the Northeast, so maybe Florida State needs to be on this.
I mean, that doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, man, because he should be just looking out for the fans and his fans and his demographic. Playing in Atlanta every other year would be great for this fan base. It just would. Playing in Syracuse sucks. Playing in Boston, while it's a cool city, that's not a college town, and it kind of sucks. And nobody, it's just hard to get there. Like there's no other natural fit. And also I was thinking, don't you think all 4 North Carolina schools, won't they be their 3 permanent partners?
Yeah, it's very, very possible. I would say probably likely, but I don't know for sure. But I don't know. Maybe it'll end up being Georgia Tech. But it was interesting. A couple of the other reporters actually came up to me later and said, "Are you surprised he didn't really push for Georgia Tech?" And I was, but we'll see. Maybe it ends up with Georgia Tech. there's really, other than this idea of the big markets. Now, maybe it's possible he was already told that it's not going to be Georgia Tech. I don't know. I really don't know. He just was very forthcoming that obviously Miami and Clemson would be two of them. He was not as forthcoming on the third. And as I said, he kind of shot down the Georgia Tech talk. So I'm going to try to find out more information about it. But based right now, it doesn't seem like they would be the third one.
And just real quick, Ira mentioning the fact that the NCAA has to make some sort of approval, make a kind of a waiver, if you will. The Big 12 is one of the conferences that has, a conference championship game, and they do not have divisions. But that's because one of the rules is that if you do not have divisions and you want to have a conference championship game, it has to be the top two teams, and you need to have a round-robin schedule so that everybody plays everybody, which is how they kind of get around it. Just want to clear that up. In this, thanks. And it would be better,
I agree with Corey. I think Georgia Tech should be the third team, but even this would be better than the way it's been. At least you are assured of getting a home and home with Georgia Tech twice every 4 years, basically.
Yeah, that's true. And when was the last time they played at Georgia Tech? It was the block kick, right?
It was.
So they've been 7 years without playing in that place, or it will be by the time they do it again. And yeah, so I guess in this instance, it's not the end of the world because you still are going to be in. You're in Atlanta every 4 years instead of every two, but you are playing Georgia Tech. I don't even know what another. I just don't want them to send like Syracuse or Boston College. Come on, man, let them all play each other.
I kind of wondered if NC State might be in play, but that wouldn't have anything to do with the market stuff. So I don't know. The other interesting part to it though was I don't think it's again, Dan Radakovich kind of made it sound like they were close to determining that. There's other people that say that that it wasn't unanimous or close to unanimous. And Mike Norvell, actually, I talked to him today, and he didn't say he was against scrapping divisions, but he did talk about how much he did like divisions. And, when he was at Memphis and, his previous institution, he mentioned that they won, 3 division titles in a row and how special that was. And there is something to be said for that as well.
What about conspiracy theory? The third one will be Virginia Tech. Although I know that's not a market, but maybe try to have the old bloods, the blue bloods in this conference, football-wise, always clash heads. What do we think about that?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but then it's like, I guess that's cool. That it would be, you'd have the 3 other great or sort of great at one time football programs in the conference all playing each other, which would be great, I guess, for the conference, maybe. But Virginia Tech hasn't been very good in a long time either. So I don't know if that moves the needle, man. I don't know if that moves the needle. I think Florida State, Clemson, Florida State, Miami. Florida State's doing enough needle moving for the conference. Like, give them a game that's for their fans that's close to home.
One other way to look at it, though, Corey, is it's not like FSU, Georgia Tech. Yes, it would make the FSU fans in Atlanta happy. But I don't know that it's not going to be a marquee matchup.
ESPN doesn't care about that, right? ESPN doesn't care about our fan base in Atlanta being satisfied.
Well, no, I guess my point is, so Florida State has to play the 3 best teams in the conference every year just for TV. Like, they don't give a gimme. Not that Georgia Tech's been a gimme for this program here recently, but you know what I mean? Like, they already have to play Clemson and Miami. Now they got to go play Virginia Tech too. Like, come on, man, give the program a break. Give them one sort of easy game.
You just said you don't want Syracuse.
No, because Syracuse sucks. Like, I'm talking about getting to Syracuse, like getting to the place.
Get on a plane.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not good for the fans. Florida, Ira, you've been to Atlanta for those Florida State Georgia Tech games. It's like a bowl game.
It's not good for Corey, is what you were saying.
Well, correct. But also, I'm not alone, man. Don't act like I'm speaking in the wilderness by myself. The vast majority of Florida State fans would rather have a game every other year in Atlanta than every other year in Syracuse, New York.
Yes.
You also would think it would be good for recruiting, right? Because you could recruit Georgia players saying, hey, every 2 years you're going to be back in your home state.
Heck no, man. You want to go up to the West New York and get all those great players. Of course. Wow. Where else would you rather be? Or go to like downtown Boston and get all that great crop of talent.
What about Pitt? What if it was Pitt?
I wouldn't mind Pitt. I like Pitt. Pittsburgh's a fun place. Okay. But yeah, no, I'd still prefer Atlanta. Come on, let's be honest. And I think one of the good things about this, when this happens, and Mike Norvell can say how much he likes divisions and everything, which is fine. I don't mind them, but man, it'll be great for all these conferences, specifically the ACC, because how many times in the last 12 to 15 years has it been a great team from the Atlantic, against an also ran from the Coastal. And
every year.
It's almost every year, right? And it's just not compelling. Now you get your two best teams in the conference. And if it's a rematch, so be it, it's a rematch. But it's the two best teams in the conference, and it might actually get some eyeballs on it.
But as Aslan said, at least the Big 12 does have the round robin. You're going to have the debates of who really is the two best teams because everybody's not playing everybody.
Well, yeah. Hey, man, there's pros and cons, Ira. Pros and cons to everything.
True.
Is it kind of weird that you're 2 days deep out there now in Jacksonville, Ira, and that seems to be the biggest topic that's being discussed? I mean, there's a couple more days left out there for you, but the fact that, I don't know, this ever struck me as something that coaches and fans and, I don't know, administrators really wanted? We poked fun at John Swafford about, oh, we got no problem. Scheduling is all good. Everybody's on board with it. And the first year he's gone, they're like, we're going to totally flip this thing on its head. I mean, I don't want to say caught by surprise, but will this be the biggest story coming out of the week, you think?
Well, and the reality is we don't even know if that is going to be an official decision. We're going to meet with Commissioner Jim Phillips tomorrow. He's going to have his address with the media tomorrow afternoon. So I have coverage of that at warchant.com, and he'll discuss any decisions they make on any of this stuff. But they may not make a decision on that. They may just he may just acknowledge that that's where they're leaning. But they may not actually make a decision until later. So we'll see how that plays out. But I mean, the other stuff, a lot of the other stuff has been big picture stuff where and one of the things that, they're really one of the big things that's coming out of this is it's an opportunity for a lot of the coaches and administrators to go to the ACC and ask for answers. And, Jim Phillips, who's the commissioner who we're actually speaking with today, Wednesday afternoon, probably about 4:00, we're supposed to speak with him. So we'll have plenty of coverage at warchant.com. He's on that NCAA transition committee. I can't remember the official title of it, but he's part of that committee where they're looking at kind of the new direction of college athletics. And so he's kind of got insights into what's happening nationally. So a lot of this has been coaches, administrators asking for information from him giving them his understandings from what he's hearing of the direction of the sport. One of the things that this was kind of interesting, we're kind of hearing some mixed messages on some things. Mike Bray, Notre Dame's men's basketball coach, who was really interesting to talk to today about NIL and the transfer portal and a lot of stuff. He has some really strong opinions. Corey, you remember Mike Bray. He's got some strong opinions on things.
I do. We're in this conference too. Yeah, I remember that.
I was reliving that press conference earlier today, but we should get you and Mike Bray together to relive that press conference.
Yeah, there you go. I'll sit down with him for 20 minutes.
But one of the things he said that the commissioner told the basketball coaches today, look, some of the stuff you guys are hearing and there has been reported as imminent, such as Power 5 schools leaving the NCAA and starting their own league, that's probably further down the road than you think. It's not imminent. And also, he said he didn't think any kind of switch to making student athletes employees, that also would be much further down the road if it were to ever happen. He was kind of like, he said that Jim Phillips was kind of like pumping the brakes on all that stuff. Again, I spoke to Mike Norvell. Maybe Norvell's in different meetings, but I asked Norvell, and he said that they're still looking at a lot of different options. But he said, look, change is coming. That whether it's 5 years down the road, 4 years down the road, 10 years down the road, change is definitely coming. So yeah, I guess it depends on how imminent something is. Your definition of imminent, but the change is definitely coming. So we'll have to see. But a lot of the conversations have been more everybody just trying to figure out where college athletics is going. What should they be doing on their campuses about NIL? What should they be doing on their campuses about the transfer portal, tampering, all these types of things? And so it's been a lot of those conversations, but not necessarily any real huge action this week.
It's also weird with these meetings, Ira. I saw a tweet from David Hale from ESPN earlier on Tuesday where he said he talked to 3 different ADs coming out of the meeting, and they all said what happened, and there was 3 separate things. One was like, yeah, absolutely, I think we're going to go to we're going to get rid of divisions. Another AD said we didn't even talk about it.
Right.
So you would like maybe them to get on the same, get in the same boat and like maybe come with a clear message.
I was talking to a couple other sports writers, guys you guys know well, Andrew Carter, Ken Segura from the AJC, nice. and David Teal, and we were talking about that and how it almost feels like there's been some sort of directive for people to not talk about it. And maybe either Dan Radakovich decided to do his own thing, or who knows, man, maybe he's throwing a swerve at all of this, but we don't really know why that is, but it has been strange how adamant some people have been to not talk. It was also been strange as some coaches who normally are happy to talk about a lot of different topics are not talking at all. Like Dabo Swinney usually will hold court at this event. He'll stand in the lobby and talk to people for 20, 30, 40 minutes. He has not talked yet. He keeps just kind of sprinting past everybody. So it's been odd in terms of what information is getting out and sometimes conflicting information. But again, we'll talk to the commissioner tomorrow and might have some better understanding of all that.
Later, I think that's kind of telling.
Later today.
Yeah, there you go. You got it, Ira. You nailed it. I think that's kind of telling about Dabo because he loves to talk. But I also think he's like Bowden in that and look, man, I've had plenty of issues with Dabo over the years, the last few years in particular, with things he said. But I don't think he likes to like lie or mislead. And so do you think maybe that's why he's been told not to say something, or if they ask, say something else? And that's why he doesn't want to talk to people? Because that dude loves to talk.
Yeah, that's possible. Some people are not very good at it. You know, Mike Norvell's very good at talking without saying anything.
Sure.
And Dabo may not feel like that's something he can do very well. And so, yeah, man, that could be it. It's been kind of surprising. But, you know, again, they're all going to be here again tomorrow, so maybe it'll change. Some of those guys may talk. Another guy who I think a lot of the media was hoping to talk to is Pat Narduzzi to hear more about his thoughts on Jordan Addison and that whole situation. And he has been basically reluctant to talk as well. So, you know, we'll see if he does tomorrow. But other people, I mean, like I said, Mike Bray was great. You know, Radakovich was really good. Michael Alford, Mike Norvell talked at length. So, you know, there are some people who are talking, but there definitely are some who are just refusing to talk.
You know, the tweet and the headline from Mike Bray on Tuesday, Ira, was basically him saying that there's a lot of stuff going on. We realize it's an inconvenience and it's a lot of change, but we get paid a lot of money. We need to kind of just put our heads down and go back to work. So, I mean, people are kind of applauding that sentiment. I mean,
I think he said, suck it up and adjust.
Yeah. I mean, is that, do you think that's a shared sort of thought and feeling within the coaching fraternity that's out there in Amelia Island with you this week?
I think, you know, it's funny. He said that he was expecting the opposite. Like he said, when he went in there, he thought this was going to be 3 days of everybody just whining and bitching and moaning. And he said, he's like, you know what? He said, I told myself, if that's what it is, I'm just going to spend the rest of the week by the pool. Like, I'm not going to go to the meetings. And he said he was really surprised. He credited Jim Phillips with kind of setting the tone, coming in the meeting, talking to the coaches and say, look, this is what it is. This is where we're going. Things are going to be okay. These are the things we're going to adjust. These are ways that this is going to get better. And then they talked about constructive ways to kind of deal with it. And so that's why he was so encouraged. He thought that there was actually the conversation was moving forward. How do we deal with this? Not necessarily just throwing up our hands. Now, at the same time, he did say he was frustrated. I wouldn't say frustrated. He said he was, I guess, dismayed when he saw the reports out of Miami about, you know, the kid transferring in and getting an $800,000 contract. He said, you know, as soon as he heard that, he thought, man, what is happening to the sport? But he also said, you know, he said he'd like to see it come out of recruiting, but he still thinks NIL is positive overall. But, you know, I think that kind of, you know, again, it's not going to go away entirely. So what can you do about it? And I think that was the mindset that they were trying to take today. But, you know, whether or not everybody's on board with that, it's, you know, it's hard for me to say.
The last question I have for you, Ira, is do they still have the same soap in the bathrooms
Corey,
at the Ritz-Carlton?
Corey, I've been meaning to talk to you about this.
Uh-oh.
So the bathrooms that we normally go to right by here do not have it.
Ooh.
And so I was very concerned. I didn't, you know, Andrew Carter and I were talking about maybe it's a supply chain issue. We're trying to figure out, or cutbacks. We were trying to figure out what happened. Andrew says he found another bathroom that does have it.
Oh,
and I have not found it yet. So,
and it's like it's some sort of like coral salt. I can't remember what it's called.
Like Himalayan salt or something like that.
There you go. Yeah, it's Himalayan bath salts, and it's incredible. It's the best thing I've ever put in my hands. And ladies and gentlemen, I put a lot of things in my hands. It is by far the best.
It like exfoliates your hands. Like your hands are so soft when you're done with it. So I've been looking for it. All I can find is soft soap. So this has been the worst Ritz-Carlton experience of my life. I'm going to go, once we get off here, I'm going on the search to try to find the Himalayan salts.
Sweet.
Two more things, if I could. Ira, I know you're really super busy. I mean, you've been working nonstop, and you got 2 more days ahead of you. But if we could talk about Mike Norvell, and then maybe a little bit of flash forward to what we hope to get out of Jim Phillips later today. But I mean, I know the whole interview's up on our YouTube site. You've got a pretty good rundown of what's he did say on warchant.com. Was there any kind of big takeaway? I found it interesting. I don't know if you mentioned on the show yesterday about the fact that he kind of had discussed that players had come to him on his own roster and said that other schools had made overtures to them. I guess this all part of this fear of tampering and what, Narduzzi is having to endure up in Pitt. Was there anything else that kind of stood out from what you heard from Mike Norvell on Tuesday?
I think the biggest thing, we talked a good bit more about the team stuff today. And so I wrote about that. He was just really just talking about how, excited he is for what he, looking back at the spring, but then also the opportunity, having that week 0 game now that they get to start their summer workouts a week earlier than everybody else. I don't know if the players are as excited about it as he is, but he's really excited about in late May, they'll already be doing their summer official workout program. And then they'll actually start preseason camp a week earlier than everybody else as well. And he was really excited about this. He's just excited about this team. It's nothing new. It's just we haven't talked to him in about a month, and you kind of forget that that's how he is. But he's just, been really excited about this team and said he's fired up. The one interesting thing that I thought was kind of a little bit surprising to me was he said, we asked him about the transfer portal, and he said basically maybe they might bring in 1 or 2 more players. And it sounds like if they have more scholarships than that, it didn't sound like he's very optimistic that they're going to be able to get 3 or 4 transfers. So and he even said
numbers, is it the numbers, or does that anticipate having good talent to go pluck?
I think that's what it is, because he said they may use 1 or 2 of those extra scholarships on walk-ons. Now, whether that's CJ Campbell or whether it's, I don't know who exactly, whoever it would be, but that makes you think. I mean, it's possible. Now, it's possible that there's somebody that was looking to leave if they didn't get put on scholarship. So maybe he felt like he had to. But yeah, it came across as more like there's not as much out there as they had hoped. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
And then TV revenue, is that going to come up, you think, at some point on Wednesday with Jim Phillips up there?
Yeah, well, for sure, 100%. And they're meeting with the ESPN people tomorrow. So I think there'll be some conversation about that. I think that's one of the things that kind of is part and parcel of the scheduling stuff is they're trying to do whatever they can to make the conference schedule more marketable. And I think ask ESPN for more money. So I think they'll get an update from ESPN on where things are, the money they get from the ACC network. I don't know. I know that traditionally there are look-ins in the ACC deal. They're not going to tear up the grant of rights, but there are look-ins where ESPN, the ACC can say, hey, you need to give us more money than you're paying us. And that may be part of this deal with the scheduling. Like, look, okay, what if we do this? We create more favorable matchups. We improve our inventory. Will that cause you guys, can you start giving us a little bit more money than you've been giving us? So, but that conversation is happening later today. The ESPN people will be here meeting with the ADs and the football coaches, and Jim Phillips should give us an update on that. I don't think there's going to be any financial announcements or anything, but he could at least say that, yes, those conversations went well, and we expect to get more than we've been getting. Boom.
Ira Schoffel, managing editor of warchant.com, on site at Amelia Island all week long for ACC meetings. He'll be back with us tomorrow as well. Everybody missed you on headlines, Ira.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I mean, look, they need to experience some hardship occasionally just to remember how good it is when I am on.
And they really had to experience some hardship last week. So they felt a little bit better this week, but they still not quite the same, I guess.
All right, man, we got formerly of Trench Talk, now hopefully NFL illustrious career fame, Devontay Love-Taylor, joining us here on the show. Devontay, man, how are you doing? You sound like you've been busy as we were speaking off air. How are you?
Yes, sir, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, man, good. So, I mean, I don't know where the anxiety compares. I don't know anxiety, but maybe the excitement of going into, week 1 of a season versus what you got going on now with rookie mini camps going on. But just how's that been for you, kind of emotionally, mentally? How's that been? How you been able to manage those emotions?
Pretty well. This is what we've been training for since January. Once you got through pro day and everything, the nerves kind of calmed down for a few weeks. They pick back up as the draft process goes on, because you have no idea where you're going to be. And then once you figure out what opportunity you get, you're there the next week. So it's just moving really fast, so you don't have too much time to stop and think about it.
All right, so walk us through like what happens as soon as the season's over for you. I know there's pro day that comes up later on, but I mean we're talking like late November. You got to kind of get into gear. What was that sort of journey like for you?
So for me, I took like a week off right after the season. Didn't start pre-draft training, just started doing workouts at home. Went home for Christmas break, spent New Year's at home. Came back up to Tallahassee and trained. I was training in Tallahassee. I was training for a week, then went down to the Hula Bowl in Orlando, which was a good time. Pretty much it's just like a Senior Bowl showcase where there's guys from all over the country. There's scouts there. Ex-NFL head coaches were running it. So I did that. Then just trained for 3 months up until pro day, did pro day, took a couple of days off, tried to stay in shape. I actually went to Tampa for a local pro day, and then just got ready for the draft and everything.
All right, man. So as we're talking right now, are you even 24 hours removed from getting off a plane? So, for us on the outside, we saw that you had a rookie undrafted deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but that's coming up this weekend. You already had a sort of meet with the team and worked out just prior, huh?
Yeah, so I was in Baltimore this past weekend. I was trying out for the Ravens, and it went well. They said they're gonna keep me on a list and give me a call if they need me. So now it's just staying ready and then going to Tampa and making the most of that opportunity.
What was the expectation going into your first rookie minicamp, and what was the actual sort of reality of it all, those 2-3 days you were up in Baltimore?
It wasn't as much as like a physical tax as college football is or as college camp, because, the NFL guys, they want to take care of their bodies, because once the game comes around, it's more physical. But the mental part was a lot more like the playbook. I think we only got through one install and probably had to learn about 25 to 30 plays with all the audible snap counts and fronts and all that stuff. And we got in Thursday night, had a meeting Thursday night, got it all that night, and had to know it by Friday morning.
So what time are you waking up on Friday? Were you able to even sleep? Like, were you that excited, that anxious for that actual workout?
Yeah, well, yeah, I had no choice. I had to go to sleep because, you're going out there, and there was vets out there. Even though it was rookie minicamp, there's still vets out there trying to make the most of their opportunities.
All right, Corey's always talked about just how dynamic Jordan Travis is. How did the playbook of Mike Norvell compare to the playbook of Greg Roman out there in Baltimore?
Very similar, just a lot of different terminology. Like the terminology was completely different, so I had to find ways to relate it. But just like watching their film and seeing how Lamar moves and how J-Trav moves, there's a lot of similarities, and it's a lot of similar stuff. They run a lot more tight end sets. Like they use less receivers and more tight ends, opposed to here we use more receivers. But other than that, it's very similar.
All right, so now you have Tampa Bay coming up this weekend. How much better do you feel? Like, how much more comfortable do you feel going into this weekend now that you actually have kind of one under your cap?
A lot more, because now I know what to expect, especially like when it comes to the tempo at practice, because the main thing in the NFL practice, they always emphasize staying off the ground and knowing the tempo. So it's not always 100% effort. It's maybe 100% for the first 2 or 3 steps. And then it's like you're taking care of the guy across from you. So now I really know how to do that and understand it.
Is there any team period like when you're out there during these tryouts? Is there like actual 11 on 11, or is it mostly just?
Yeah, there was. I think we had 3 team periods, but they weren't like 20 or 30 play team periods. They were like 12 to 18 play team periods.
So how did that feel? Like grown man making, real grown man doing this as a career, going up against you defensive linemen. You've gone up against some real good guys in your career and worked out against it in Florida State. But I guess maybe was there kind of a mental hurdle where you're like, all right, you go from high school to college and you think it's going to be a step up, then you go from college to NFL. How was that sort of a I guess baptism, if you will?
It was different. The game was quicker. The first guy in the team period I went against, he's actually like a 10-year vet. He's coming. He's trying to make his way back into the league, and he was a dog when he was healthy. I think he got injured a couple years ago. And just seeing him the first rep and seeing how quick he was at his size, and it's just like there's guys that are big in college, but they can't move that well. But guys in the NFL, they're all big, athletic, strong.
So looking at Tampa, does the depth chart look any better for you? Is there better relationships maybe with the coaching staff and your agent? You think they get maybe a better shake? What do you think maybe feels a little bit different about going to this one at Tampa?
Well, I worked out for Tampa before, so I'm from Tampa. So during the draft process, they're allowed to invite guys from the area to a local workout. So I went and worked out with them in March already. So I think that they're inviting me back is a good sign.
What do you know about the depth chart? Do you even look at it, or do you have to be so focused kind of on your individual tasks that you can't worry about the depth chart? Or do you have to realize it's a business and look at your odds and see kind of how your odds do stack up?
A little bit of both. Like, I understand the Bucs offensive line last year. I believe they lost their center. I forgot which team he went to, but other than that, he was a Pro Bowler, and then they had 3 other Pro Bowlers and an alternate, and they just got Shaq Mason from New England, and he's a very good player. So, you're looking at that, and then look at the guys they draft. But then at the end of the day, if you go and perform and do what you need to do, they may still give me a chance. So it's a little bit of both.
Devontay, can you talk about, I don't know if Aslan's asked you about this in the past. I'm sure he has, but your relationship with Atkins, you're an offensive line guy. I'm sure you've been around dozens of offensive line coaches in your day, starting back when you first started playing. Is there anything that makes him stand out or is unique that you hadn't seen before or hadn't been coached like before?
The way he cares for the players, not just on the field, but off the field as well. He always was real honest with me, which a lot of coaches aren't. And he would always preach to me, I'm a bit undersized, and he would always preach to me from when he first started coaching me. He goes, if you want a chance to make it in the league, he goes, your technique and everything has to be perfect because you're not very big, opposed to guys who are big and long and don't have to have good technique because they just eat up so much space.
But how do you separate? Because we watch him coach. We're lucky enough to get to watch you guys practice. And he's not like an arm around your shoulder type guy on the practice field.
No.
He kind of tells you how it is. He doesn't care if he's hurting feelings. How does that is that the same relationship when you're off the field? Like, how do you separate the guy that's coaching you from the guy that really does care about you as a human being and cares about your future?
Well, when they're coaching you, it's like, and they're tough on you, they're not attacking you as a person. They're just attacking you. They're attacking your action. And, if you mess up and you realize that, sometimes he doesn't even have to say anything, especially the older guys. He'll just give them a look. And, like, one thing he's big on, he never wants you to make the same mistake twice. So he's not going to really get on you too hard if you make a mistake one time, but it's that second and third time where he's not seeing the improvement. Because that's all he says. He says he just wants to see improvement. Like, if you're going to mess something up, mess something new up so he can fix. Give him something new to fix.
And did he have a message for you once your playing days at Florida State were over, or even, after the draft? Has he had a message for you about what needs to happen here for you to have yourself a really nice football career?
Well, we've talked about that since I first got to Florida State because, originally I was only going to have the 1 year but then I got the extra year because of COVID.
Right.
And that's when he just told me about how I need to be strict on my technique and really just get it done on the board because I'm going to have to stand out somewhere because my size doesn't really stand out. So it's like, you just got to be good at what you're good at, like perfect it so it stands out.
Right.
Devontay, you've always put the brave face on Mondays when we would speak to you on your Trench Talk show on our Warchant TV YouTube. How tough was it for you physically this past season? What did you all kind of endure? I know maybe you don't want to go through everything, but man, I don't want to poke and pry, but I just feel like it's fair that people kind of know that, man, you just weren't rolling out of bed feeling like a bunch of $100 bills stacked on top of each other every day.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, just knowing what I was capable of and not being able to do it because my body wouldn't allow me to do it. That was probably the most frustrating part. But, I was dealing with a pretty bad back injury towards the end of the year. I tried to push through, and I wasn't able to towards the end of the year. But, I would do, even if I could go back in time, I'd still try to do it just because, like, it just means so much to me to go out there and play with those guys and play in that uniform.
So how much were you able to rest after the season? Because, I assume you want to you're getting ready for pro day, you're getting ready for workout for teams. So you want to be in good shape, but you also don't want to hurt your back even more. So how much were you able to work out? How much were you able to rest before getting all that pro day stuff in. And how do you feel now?
So I feel great right now, and I stayed up here to train with Coach Farniak. He's one of the strength coaches,
Okay.
and one of the reasons I stayed up here because of the injuries, and I know that up here they knew my body and knew what I needed, and he drew up a plan catered to me and what my body went through, and it got me back healthy. And I was able, when I went out to pro day, I PR'd on everything, and compared to where I was pre-draft training or pro day training, it was night and day. And I just want to give him a shout out for that.
Devontay, I know you're focused on the future here, but just kind of looking back at this past season, maybe even the last 2 seasons, if you want to roll them kind of into one, what do you think has been laid down by the last 2 seasons, the first 2 seasons of Mike Norvell being in Tallahassee? How do you think fans should kind of look at the successes and maybe the setbacks and what the future can hold for this program?
I think if you look at 2020 and how wide the margin was and those losses we had in 2020 and the lack of, I don't want to say lack of commitment, but the lack of buy-in from the team and just the guys that have been through 3 head coaches, it's hard to buy in to a 3rd head coach in 5 years. And then, going into this past season, there was more buy-in. The games we lost were a lot closer. I think we lost 5 of our 7 games by 1 possession, against really good teams. And I think they're going to make that next step next year. Guys know how to win. They got a little taste of victory, and now they want it for good.
So, Devontay, what's your schedule like moving forward? Like, when do you – I assume there are rookie mini camps and all that. When do you report down there, or when do you get to go to work and try to make this football team?
So I go to Tampa on Thursday. And
then go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then we the mini camp starts Thursday night, and we roll into Sunday. And then after that, if they decide to keep me, then I'll report back for OTAs.
Are you nervous? Like, you've been doing this a long time, man, and I don't know the last time you felt like you were trying out. I mean, you've tried to win starting spots before, but trying out to impress the team, are you nervous? Are you getting butterflies about this?
I wouldn't say nervous, because at the end of the day, like, it's just they want to see it in person. They've watched the tape. They've talked to the coaches. I'm not going to do anything super magnificent out there because it's non-padded. It's
right.
I think like an hour and a half practice. I'm not going to be able to go out there and just pancake people, but yeah, I wouldn't say nervous. It's more excitement.
Is there anything else on the horizon for you after this weekend, or is this the last one of your tryouts? We know obviously you had the Ravens last weekend, so is it just the Bucs, or is there anything else after that?
It's just the Bucs.
All right.
Yes, sir.
We couldn't get you with the Panthers. I know that was your dream, but at this point, we'll just take a roster spot anywhere. Just, I mean, does this feel real? I mean, I don't know how much of last week kind of being thrown up on an airplane and going to Baltimore, and then you see Lamar Jackson and all these guys out here trying to hone their craft and get better. I mean, I know you've been prepared for this, but just how real does this all kind of feel now that you're stepping foot onto these NFL franchises, these hallmark places, and trying to continue your career?
I mean, it's just a blessing, like not many people get the opportunities. I mean, I didn't, like, a lot of people thought it was going to be like, are you upset you didn't get drafted or sign a deal or anything? And, I'm just really blessed and thankful that I got the opportunities I did. And, it doesn't feel real at times. Like, you're walking into the locker room and you're seeing those guys' lockers that are going to be Hall of Famers. And it's like, wow, I'm here right now. Even if it's just a small opportunity, I'm still here. All right, and you're listening to the head coaches speak and everything. Like Coach Harbaugh was just such like a good, genuine person, and listening to him speaking in person after seeing him on TV since middle school and stuff like that.
All right, so when you make a roster, can I just text you to get on the show, or do I have to go through the PR people for the team to get you on the show?
I don't even know. They didn't even talk to us about that kind of stuff.
I did want to ask you one thing though, and I'm asking this question hoping it's 10 years down the road. But I'll even ask you, what do you see yourself doing as a 33-year-old? Like, what do you want your career after playing football? Hopefully it's 10 years from now. We know the odds are stacked against you, but we know we're all rooting for you, and people beat odds all the time. So hopefully it lasts 10 years. But what do you see yourself doing after your football playing days are over?
I just want to do something where I can help people, and like especially young people, like teenagers, early college.
Would you want to coach?
I don't know about like I've thought about it, and I've coached before. I coached my little brother, and from the time he was 6 to 13. So I was in high school doing that. And, you know, when I was injured last spring, just doing whatever Atkins needed me to do. But yeah, potentially coaching or just being involved in communities and helping people out.
All right. Well, that's noble, man. I'm sure you will. I'm sure you'll make that happen, buddy.
Why wouldn't you want to be a coach? What's the drawback of being a coach, Devontay?
Oh, no, there's nothing negative about being a coach. I just, you know, I see how these coaches, like, their schedules are. And, you know, like, we get to the building around the same time, but after practice, we get to go home. They're in there until 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night and have to be back up there the next morning.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, you keep up at it, man, and we won't have to worry about coaching and just kind of cruise into this whole NFL pension thing. So thanks so much for your time. Devontay Love-Taylor's got to try out with the Bucs this weekend. Devontay, thanks for joining on the show. Thanks for coming to Tallahassee 2 years ago, man. I think you helped leave the program in a better place than you found it.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you all for having me.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.